Hey y'all, and welcome to the new releases for the first week of May. I'm excited. There were so many good ones this week. So many. So the list is kind of large. It is going to be a large list. And next week's list might not be as large because a lot of stuff's coming out this week instead. But timestamps, as I have gotten regular to do them, yes, I've been doing so good. So jump around to a genre if there's one in particular you would like to hear about versus the other ones. This week's big genre, though, is going to be fantasy. Laying that out there. And we shall go ahead and get started. The first one of the week, though, is going to be sci-fi, and let's see. The first one is going to be The Lords of Uncreation by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is the conclusion to the Final Architect series. I really hope the car sounds aren't going to be too loud because I'm filming in the office again while the bookshelf is still in its in-between stage. The first one in this series, though, is The Shards of Earth, and that one is following after a war is over and the heroes are forgotten until one chance discovery. Idris has neither aged nor slept since they remade him in the war, and one of humanity's heroes now scrapes by as a freelance salvage vessel to avoid the attention of greater powers. After Earth was destroyed, mankind created a fighting elite to save their species, enhanced humans such as Idris. In the silence of space, they could communicate mind to mind with the enemy. Then their alien aggressors, the architects, simply disappeared, and Idris and his kind became obsolete. Now, 50 years later, Idris and his crew have discovered something strange abandoned in space. Oops. It's clearly the work of the architects, but are they returning? And if so, why? Hunted by gangsters, cults, and governments, Idris and his crew race across the galaxy hunting for answers, for they now possess something of incalculable value, and many would kill to obtain. Really want to start this series. It sounds very cool. This next one I think might be a standalone. It sounds like it's probably something that could be wrapped up in one book. It's also sci-fi. It's a dystopian type of book. I really want to read this one this month. I have got to find it at the library and be able to read it. This is The Ferryman by Justin Cronin. Founded by the mysterious genius known as the Designer, the archipelago of Prospero lies hidden from horrors of a deteriorating outside world. In this island paradise, Prospero's lucky citizens enjoy long, fulfilling lives until the monitors embedded in their forearms, meant to measure their physical health and psychological well-being, fall below 10%. Then they retire themselves, embarking on a ferry ride to the island known as the Nursery, where their failing bodies are renewed, their memories are wiped clean, and they are ready to start life afresh. Proctor Bennett of the Department of Social Contracts has a satisfying career as a ferryman, gently shepherding people through the retirement process and, when necessary, enforcing it. But all is not well with Proctor. For one thing, he's been dreaming, which is supposed to be impossible in Prospero. For another, his monitor percentage has begun to drop alarmingly fast. And then comes the day he is summoned to retire his own father, who gives him a disturbing and cryptic message before being wrestled into the ferry. Meanwhile, something is stirring. The support staff, ordinary men and women who provide the labor to keep Prospero running, have begun to question their place in the social order. Unrest is building, and there are rumors spreading of a resistance group known as the Arrivalists, who may be fomenting revolution. Soon, Proctor finds himself questioning everything he once believed, entangled in a much bigger cause than he realized, and on a desperate mission to uncover the truth. And doesn't that just sound awesome? Now let's move on into the fantasy genre. The first one is going to be The Sword Defiant by Gareth Honoran. Many years ago, Sir Alfric and his 9 companions saved the world, seizing the Dark Lord's cursed weapon along with his dread city of Necrad. That was the easy part. Now, when Alfric, keeper of the cursed sword Spellbreaker, learns of a new and terrifying threat, he seeks the 9 heroes once again. But they are wandering adventurers no longer. Yesterday's eager heroes are today's weary leaders, and some have turned to the darkness, becoming monsters themselves. If there's one thing Alfric knows, it's slaying monsters, even if they used to be his friends. So it sounds cool. And then one that I've heard nothing but great things from is people who've read it, before, and everybody seems to want to pick this one up, and this is The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Enter the brutal and elite world of a war college for dragon riders. 20-year-old Violet Sorengal was supposed to enter the scribe quadrant, living a quiet life among books and history. Now, the commanding general, also known as her toughest Talon's mother, has ordered Violet to join the hundreds of candidates striving to become the elite Navarra dragon riders. But when you're smaller than everyone else and your body is brittle, death is only a heartbeat away, because dragons don't bond fragile humans. They incinerate them. But with fewer dragons willing to bond than cadets, most would kill Violet to better their chances of success. The rest would kill her just for being her mother's daughter, like Xaden Rierson, the most powerful and ruthless wing leader of the Riders Quadrant. She'll need every edge her wits can give her just to see the next sunrise. Yet, with every day that passes, the war outside grows more deadly. The kingdom's protective wards are failing, and the death toll continues to rise. Even worse, Violet begins to suspect leadership is hiding a terrible secret. Our next two fantasies are middle grades, and this is going to be a new one from Rick Riordan and Mark Oshiro, which is The Sun and the Star. This one is taking characters from the previous series, and they are getting their own dedicated book or series, I don't know. It's surrounding Niccolo D'Angelo and Will Solis, who I guess showed up in the Percy Jackson series, as they are going on a rescue mission to save their friend from Tartarus. It all takes place after the other series, so I can't really give too much of a description, except that they will be facing demons both internal and external, and their relationship will be tested in this standalone adventure. Okay then. Another middle grade that is supposed to be in the same kind of vein as the Percy Jackson and all of these others like Rick Riordan stories is going to be a second book in a series called Skander and the Phantom Rider. This one's the sequel to Skander and the Unicorn Thief, which is a world not like our own. 13-year-old Skander dreams of becoming a respected unicorn rider and competing in the Chaos Cup. You see, unicorns are very real in this world, and in fact, they're deadly, bloodthirsty creatures who are extremely dangerous unless bonded to a rider. But shortly after Skander bonds with his unicorn, he learns an even greater danger is afoot, and it's up to them to stop it. So, it sounds interesting. A world where unicorns are bad. There's not very many stories that paint them that way. Then next we have another sequel, but this is a YA fantasy, and this is The Stolen Throne by Abigail Owen. It's the sequel to the book that came out last fall, so actually rather recently, which was The Liar's Crown. And I think flew a little under the radar, but the people that I did see talk about it said that they liked it. They said, this is the description for The Liar's Crown. Everything about my life is a lie. As hidden twin princess, born second, I only have one purpose, to sacrifice my life for my sister if death comes for her. I've been living under the guise of a poor, obscure girl of no standing, slipping into the palace, into the role of the true princess when danger is present. Now the queen is dead, and the ageless king Eidolon has sent my sister a gift, an eerily familiar gift, and a proposal to wed. I don't trust him, so I do what I was born to do and secretly take her place on the eve of the coronation. Which is why, when a figure made of shadow kidnaps the new queen, he gets me by mistake. As I try to escape, all the lies start to unravel, and not just my lies. The shadow wraith who took me has secrets of his own. He struggles to contain the shadows he wields, other faces, identities that threaten my very life. Winter is at the walls, darkness is looming, and the only way to save my sister and our dominion is to kill Eidolon and the shadow wraith who has stolen my heart. The next one is Warrior Girl on Earth by Angeline Bolle. This is the same author who wrote The Firekeeper's Daughter a few years ago, and apparently we're taking place on the same island, right? Yes, Sugar Island. Just 10 years later, I don't think that they are necessarily connected, though. Hello, Sunshine. In this one, we are following Perry Firekeeper Birch has always known who she is. The laid-back twin, the troublemaker, the best fisher on Sugar Island. Her aspirations won't ever take her far from home, and she wouldn't have it any other way. But as the rising number of missing Indigenous women starts circling closer to home, as her family becomes embroiled in a high-profile murder investigation, and as greedy grave robbers seek to profit off what belongs to her Anishinaabe tribe, Perry begins to question everything. In order to reclaim this inheritance for her people, Perry has no choice but to take matters into her own hands. She can only count on her friends and allies, including her overachieving twin and a charming new boy in town with unwavering morals. Old rivalries, sister secrets, and botched ties will not stop her from uncovering the mystery before the ancestors and missing women are lost forever. Sometimes the truth shouldn't stay buried. We're going to move into the romance, but the first one is more of a fantasy romance, and this is The Fate of Elysian by Teresa Sheridan. Oh no, I can't read her first name. And this one might be self-published? I don't remember. It says, will you live a life that is predestined and controlled from your first breath of air? A life full of darkness, destruction, and pain, where your existence is owed to the survival of humanity. Faye's 18th birthday turns her life upside down, just like the rest of the teens who walked this planet before her. She must travel to the city she knows she would never return the same, if she ever returns. In a futuristic world founded to cope with the effects of famine that altered the course of humanity, there are certain commandments to follow to live a prosperous life. Faye steps into the city of dreams with several unanswered questions. All she has is a mysterious symbol to find her soulmate, who was predestined at birth. Not knowing who her symbol will light up for, she must trust her judgment or destiny. Will her judgments be right? Her rebelliousness leads her to uncover a disturbing truth about the city, which is known as their Elysian. But is it just that? Along with others, Faye is determined to find the missing pieces and bring justice to herself, her family, and her friends. She is fearless. She is not afraid to challenge those who are in power. Has her entire life been a lie? Does she want to fight to be with the love of her life or settle with the soulmate chosen by the city at the time of her birth? Faye must decide. So, romance, dystopianness, a more straightforward, cozy-ish romance. This one just sounds adorable, kind of. It's Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. Annie Walker is on a quest to find her perfect match, someone who complements her happy, quiet life running the local flower shop in Rome, Kentucky. But finding her dream man may be harder than Annie imagined. Everyone knows everyone in her hometown, and the dating prospects are getting fewer by the day. After she overhears her latest date say she is so unbelievably boring, rude, Annie starts to think the problem might be her. Is it too late to become flirtatious and fun like the leading ladies in her favorite romance movies? Maybe she only needs a little practice, and Annie has the perfect person in mind to be her tutor, Will Griffin. Will, the sexy, tattooed, and absolutely gorgeous bodyguard, is temporarily back in Rome, providing security for Amelia Rose as excitement builds for her upcoming marriage to Noah Walker, Annie's brother. He has one personal objective while on the job: stay away from Annie Walker and any other possible attachment to this sleepy town. But no sooner than he gets settled, Will finds himself tasked with helping Annie find the love of her life by becoming the next leading lady of Rome, Kentucky. Will wants no part in changing the sweet and lovely Annie. He knows for a fact that some stuffy, straight-laced guy won't make her happy, but he doesn't have the heart to say no. Amid steamy practice dates and strictly educational tutoring lessons, Annie discovers that there are more layers to Will's usual stoic attitude. As the lines of their friendship become dangerously blurred, Annie reconsiders her dream guy. Maybe her love life doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be real. So see, it sounds cutesy and realistic. Our next romance is Meet Me by the Lake by Carly Fortune. This one sounds something I've read before. I don't know. And it's a second chance one. Fern Brookbanks has wasted far too much of her adult life thinking about Will Baxter. She spent just 24 hours in her early 20s with the aggravatingly attractive, idealistic artist, a chance encounter that spiraled into a day-long adventure in the city. The timing was wrong, but their connection was undeniable. They shared every secret, every dream, and made a pact to meet one another a year later. Fern showed up, Will didn't. Who says everything in the first day you meet somebody? At 32, Fern's life doesn't look at all like she once imagined it would. Instead of living in the city, Fern's back home running her mother's lakeside resort, something she vowed she'd never do. The place is in disarray, her ex-boyfriend's the manager, and Fern doesn't know where to begin. She needs a plan, a lifeline. To her surprise, it comes from Will, who arrives 9 years too late, but with a suitcase in tow and an offer to help on his lips. Will may be the only person who understands what Fern's going through, but how could she possibly trust this expensive suit-wearing mirage who seems nothing like the young man she met all those years ago? Will is hiding something, and Fern's not sure she wants to know what it is. But 10 years ago, Will Baxter rescued Fern. Can she do the same for him? Yeah, I don't get that last line though. It doesn't make sense with the rest of it. Our next one, we'll move into a mystery, and this is a cozy mystery. It's called Murder at the Bookstore by Sue Minks. Its ebook did come out in January, but its print version is coming out this month, at least here in the US. And it just sounds so cute. So I have to say it. I have to. She can write the perfect murder mystery, but can she solve one in real life? Meet Jen Dawson, mystery writer, coffee lover, and amateur detective. Crime writer Jen returns to her small hometown with a best-selling book behind her and a bad case of writer's block. Finding sanctuary in the local bookstore with an endless supply of coffee, Jen waits impatiently for inspiration to strike. But when the owner of the bookstore dies suddenly in mysterious circumstances, Jen has a real-life murder to solve. The stakes are suddenly higher when evidence places Jen at the scene of the crime and the reading of the will names her as the new owner of the bookstore. Can she crack the case and clear her name before the killer strikes again? And now we will move into fiction, which the first one is kind of an honorary mention, but the next, or the 23rd installment in the Women's Murder Club by James Patterson is coming out this week. And this one follows a copycat killer for someone that the Detective Lindsay Boxer and co. have put behind bars before. And I kind of like the series. I've only read the first two, but it's nice. So this, if you're interested in the series or you've been following it, the 23rd book called The 23rd Midnight comes out this week, dealing with an insane copycat. And our next one is a historical fiction, which is Clemenstera, focusing on Greek history again, kind of like Circe and Electra. This is by Constance Cassanti. It says, as for queens, they are either hated or forgotten. She already knows which option suits her best. You are born to a king, you marry a tyrant, you stand by helplessly as he sacrifices your child to placate the gods. You watch him wage war on a foreign shore, and you comfort yourself with violent thoughts of your own. Because this was not the first offense against you. This is not the life you ever deserved, and this will not be your undoing. Slowly, you plot. But when your husband returns in triumph, you become a woman with a choice. Acceptance or vengeance, infamy follows both. So you bide your time and force the gods' hands in the game of retribution, for you understood something long ago that others did not. If power isn't given to you, you have to take it for yourself. It definitely says something, has some promise to it. And our last one is also a historical fiction, but set after World War II in those years. It's The Secret Book of Flora Lee by Patty Callahan Henry. In war-torn London of 1939, 14-year-old Hazel and 5-year-old Flora are evacuated to a rural village to escape the horrors of the Second World War. Living with the kind Bertie Aberdeen and her teenage son Harry is a charming stone cottage along the River Thames. Hazel fills her days with walks and games to distract her young sister, including one that she creates for her sister and her sister alone, a fairy tale about a magical land, secret place they can escape to that is all their own. But the unthinkable happens when young Flora suddenly vanishes while playing near the banks of the river. Shattered, Hazel blames herself for her sister's disappearance, and she carries that guilt into adulthood as a private burden she feels she alone deserves. 20 years later, Hazel is in London, ready to move on from her job at a cozy rare bookstore to a career at Sotheby's. With a charming boyfriend and her elegantly time-worn Bloomsbury flat, Hazel's future seems determined, but her tidy life turned upside down when she unwraps a package containing an illustrated book called Whisper Wood in the River of Stars. Hazel never told a soul about the imaginary world she had created just for Flora. Could this book hold the secrets to Flora's disappearance? Could it be the sign that her beloved sister is still alive after all these years? As Hazel embarks on a feverish quest, revisiting long-dormant relationships and bravely opening wounds from her past, her career and her future hang in the balance. An astonishing twist ultimately reveals the truth in this transporting and refreshingly original novel about the bond between sisters, the complications of conflicted love, and the enduring magic of storytelling. That's all for this week's new releases. Maybe you were able to find something new that sounds engaging. I really, really want to pick up a few of these. Like, they have got to go on the TBR list. Sunshine has decided to join us here at the end. Hopefully, though, you were able to find something engaging. And if you haven't been here before, you can check out some of my other videos, like this recent Fairy Loot unboxing or any of the others. And if you're liking my content, consider subscribing so you can join us for future reviews, new book releases like this, and vlogs, unboxings, all the fun stuff. Hope you're running something awesome tree today, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!